Hey there. So in a recent video, I talked to people about butter versus olive oil. And I said, hey, olive oil is really good for you. Replace your butter with it. And there were lots of reactions. I love reactions. So I started looking at the comments on the video, and some people are like, yeah, I love olive oil. This is awesome. I understand the research. And other people were mad. They were cranky because I was hating on their butter, and they're like, butter is healthy and it is good for you. And I was like, am I missing something? Am I clueless about the research? So in this video, I decided to get curious, and I want you to come with me so we can look at what does the research actually say? Is butter this health food? So let's go figure it out together. Let's do it. So after several people commented that butter is healthy and that I'm clueless, and sometimes I get it, I'm totally clueless, I got curious and I said, okay, am I missing something? Like, what's happening here? So I turned to the research, and butter does contain some benefits that I did not say in my last video, especially if we look at grass-fed butter. You know, the cows that actually go outside or eat grass, that kind of thing. You know, if I'm gonna be honest, I don't live on a Minnesota farm anymore, like the one where I grew up. I don't live in farm country. So if I go to the grocery store and I buy butter, I tend to grab whatever and probably what's cheapest. I'm not looking at sourcing my butter and seeing how are the cows treated, which, yeah, that's pretty terrible of me. But, you know, how are they treated? What were they fed? Like, what's the origin? So if you are doing that, well, good for you for being much more proactive than me. Grass-fed cows make butter that's a little bit more nutritious. So there you go. You're aware of that point. So what goodness does butter have? Well, let's look at the research. It has a bit of vitamin A and vitamin K2. All right, those are good. Vitamin A supports vision and immune health. We want that. And K2 plays a critical role in bone health and helping calcium to get to the right places in the body. They're basically saying, so it goes to your bones and your teeth rather than getting stuck in your arteries. Seems important. Some CLA, and I had to look up how to say this. Conjugated linoleic acid. Conjugated linoleic acid. Say that 3 times fast. This is a naturally occurring fat found in butter from grass-fed cows, so make sure we're checking the source, that could have some anti-inflammatory properties and can support metabolism in small amounts. Okay, that sounds great. And it can even have trace amounts of omega-3s. We know we want omega-3s. It helps with brain function, mood regulation, reducing inflammation, I mean, a whole bunch of good stuff. So there are nutrients in butter. Nobody's making that up. I did not mention those in my last video. Okay. So then the question becomes not, is butter bad for you per se? But the question is, well, is butter the best vehicle? Is it the best way to get those nutrients? So we can look at the research again and go, okay, is there a downside for butter? And the issue is that butter is over 50% saturated fat. For most people, this is not a good thing. It raises LDL cholesterol. It increases risk of heart disease. That's usually a bad thing to have a bunch of saturated fat. And that's why big organizations like the American Heart Association and the World Health Association recommend limiting butter because of that downside to it. So even if butter brings some nutrients to the table, as it can, the cost of delivery is pretty darn high. This is kind of like, you know, when you get the app that you really like and you're like, oh, this is awesome, I love this new app. And then you find out, but it's draining my battery and they're selling my data. That's not a good package. You might not want the app. Okay. So then the real question is, well, is there a better way to get those nutrients that doesn't give you so much of the downside? Here's the research again. If you want omega-3s, omega-3s are important. Salmon gives you 1,000 to 1,500 milligrams per serving compared to trace amounts in butter. If you're not eating fish or meat, flaxseed gives you 2,300 milligrams per tablespoon, and that's ALA. It's the plant-based form of omega-3. So there are other sources that are much richer than the trace amounts of omega-3 that you get from butter. Okay, how about vitamin K2? Vitamin K2, it gives you about, butter gives you about 15 micrograms per tablespoon, okay? But even if you just kind of stay in the same family, Gouda or Jarlsberg cheese, some really common full-fat cheeses give you 30 to 100 micrograms per serving, depending on the source. So you can have more of vitamin K2 with other types of dairy even that don't give you as much saturated fat. With CLA, butter contains about 0.25 grams per tablespoon. But if you go with something like full-fat dairy, like whole milk or yogurt, it gives you 2 to 4 times as much, depending on the animal's diet, again, looking at your source. And yogurt has less saturated fat. It has about 5 grams in a cup compared to butter's 7 grams per tablespoon. And it gives you calcium, protein, and probiotics. So ultimately, I'm not saying that butter is poison, but it certainly isn't a superfood. And if you want to enjoy it, well then let's enjoy it because it's delicious, especially in certain things, like once in a while that really flaky, delicious pie crust. And Mama Johansson made the best pie crusts. A story for a different day. But not because butter is like your go-to thing that you just slather on everything without being aware of your choices. So the bottom line, if you want better brain health, go for better fat choices, because ultimately it's about what we're doing in the big picture, the choices that we make over time. And I'm never going to tell people just get rid of all the stuff you love. You know, that's not what we're about in terms of changing our lifestyle and promoting this functional age where we do things and live better. But I do want to help you get real about what your brain and your body really needs or benefits from. So I'm here to give you science, evidence-based tips and ideas, not guilt trips. And if you want more of that, feel free to join us. Come into the free newsletter. It goes out every Sunday. Look for my functional aging community where we support each other in doing all the good things. And yeah, I can't wait to see you there. Bye.